I remember my grammar school days when we were taught something called the new math. It was various arithmetic equations in different bases. Now, the Clinton campaign seems to want to apply a new math to clinch the Democratic nomination for president. A Pew Research study reveals that if supporters of a particular candidate do not receive the Democratic nod, they will sit out the general election. Toenails are becoming deeply secured in rugs. Who is more likely to participate? The natural Democratic base of 25 to 30% of voters? But to reach the 50% plus one mark, each party relies heavily on convincing independent and swing voters to join their ranks. The primary season thus far has illustrated that Barack Obama tends to secure this voting bloc, particularly among young people. In Democratic face-offs where primaries are not allowed, Clinton does best or comes close to beating Obama. But what is more important is a candidate who can attract new voters along with those who would support Elmo if he were on the Democratic line. With each passing day, the Clinton campaign seems to concoct a new road to victory. It's the popular vote winner, big state versus small state winner, isolation of caucus voters from directly cast ballots. Yesterday it was even proffered that the Electoral College be somehow convolutedly tossed into the soup. Let's be clear. Under Democratic Party rules, the winner of the presidential nomination is that candidate who receives a plurality of the delegates. This year the total is 2,025. This is a simple rule, but the Clinton campaign is ready to throw red herring after red herring at it because they have lost. Barack Obama is the Democratic candidate for president. Hillary Clinton's continued presence in the race projects nothing more than a Mike Huckabee persona. The mathematics is also evident that Clinton's loss is irrefutable, even if every superdelegate pledged to support her. The media is what's keeping this fight alive, and Hillary should be viewed as a spoiler rather than a bona fide candidate for the nomination. If skin color were reversed, would Obama be considered the virtual nominee? But the nominee happens to be black, and Americans seem to want an African American seated in the Oval Office instead of a woman, particularly since that woman is Hillary Clinton. If Hillary seems so shy about facing the voters for an up or down vote, let's offer some alternatives to the franchise, why don't we? How about a Tyson chicken plucking contest, where each candidate is supplied a chicken and a plucker? The removal of the most feathers wins. Or, in North Carolina, how about a grease pig wrestling contest? The porcine conqueror wins the state primary. How about a Philly cheesesteak eating marathon in Pennsylvania? My personal favorite is the Ambien face-off. Each candidate is administered a dose of Ambien, and the first to fall out loses. The inclusion of superdelegates was to bar maverick candidates like Jimmy Carter to seize the nomination without paying homage to the Washington establishment. Since Carter, all nominees except Dukakis to a certain extent came from official Washington. Walter Mondale, Al Gore, and John Kerry support this assertion. It has become clear that the anti-Washington message of the Clinton and Reagan campaigns are not only what the voters want to hear, but what they want. On the other hand, establishment candidates laden by campaign consultants roll out cookie-cutter campaign after campaign, which lulls the voters into a miasma, and when negative ads hit, suppress turnout. The Pew Foundation also reports that 27% of the voters identify with the Democratic agenda this year. A campaign on process rather than issues, a he said, she said November election will undoubtedly turn these voters off too. The involvement of former President Clinton needs to be added to this mix, for he and Hillary have demonstrated their primary colors in this race. President Clinton's interjection of race in South Carolina, the stoking of the Reverend Wright story, the leaking of the Obama Somalia dress photo to the Drudge Report, and most recently impinging Mr. Obama's patriotism does smack of Joe McCarthy. Former President Clinton should be aware that by extending this farce of a campaign, that he is further jeopardizing an already tarnished legacy. This is Joe Garcia for reform.squarespace.com, reform.squarespace.com. The email address is 2008reform@gmail.com, 2008reform@gmail.com. Good night and have a pleasant evening. Bye.